by Leefpot waar ons saam oefen aan die kuns om betekenisvol te leef. In vandag se gesprek gesels ek met Alfred Kariuki wat oorspronklik van Kenia is, maar al baie jare in Nelspruit woon en hier ook al 'n paar kerke geplant het. Ek hoop sy inspirerende storie gaan vir jou ook vandag iets beteken en ook die dinge waar ons gesels het. Geniet ons gesprek. Pastor Alfred, it's wonderful to have you here with me today in my house drinking coffee. I would like for us just to start off so that people will know you a bit better. We've known each other for a few years.
Yeah.
I can't remember how long.
Yeah, a few years.
And I would just love for you to share something with us from something about who you are, where you're from, just so we can know you a bit better.
Okay. Well, thanks, Andrew, for having me. Yes, it's an interesting conversation. And my name is Alfred Kariuki. I was born in Kenya. I am a Kenyan by citizenship. And many years ago, I was born many years ago, and so I actually gave my heart to the Lord in my mid-20s, and studied in Kenya, grew up in Kenya, in the capital city of Nairobi, and went through the normal school system. I grew up with we are six of us in our family, come from a very stable home. My parents, mom and dad, are still alive, and I have 5 sisters. I'm the only boy in the family. I've got 5 sisters, so help me, Jesus. But like you mentioned, just studied interior design. I have a degree in interior design, and so I think it was in 1996 I joined the church that I was part of. Invited me and my wife Edith. I've been married now. This year actually we celebrate 30 years on the 3rd of September, 30-year anniversary. So we've been married for 3 decades. But anyway, they invited Edith and I to the pastoral team, inviting us to be zone pastors. And we spent about 3 years in Nairobi before our church sent us to the nation of Zambia. So we went to Zambia to plant a church. Okay. And we were there for 8 years. And then in 2006, after 8 years, planting and raising a church in the city of Livingstone in Zambia, then God called us to come to Nelspruit, South Africa. So we came here in 2006, 2007, began our church, Nelspruit Lighthouse Church, in 2007. And so, yeah, this is where we are to date. We've got 2 kids. I've got a daughter who's now maybe 27, 28, and I've got a son who's also 21, 22. Yeah, so God has blessed us tremendously, and we thank God for that. I hope that's enough of a summary of who
Yes,
I am.
absolutely. No, that gives us a good idea of.
Yeah.
So it's been about more or less 17, 18 years that you've been
That's right.
in Nelspruit.
In Nelspruit, yeah.
And so the church that you started has a few locations, if I understand correctly, but you are situated in Matsafeni.
Yes.
Now, just for some people who might not be sure where Matsafeni is, that's basically in Nelspruit where the stadium is, where Hall and Sons is. That's the part of town where you are ministering.
Yes.
How did you end up in Matsafeni? How did you choose Matsafeni? What was that like to, how did you, I don't really know how to ask the question, but what made you start a church in Matsafeni? Why Matsafeni?
Why Matsafeni? When we planted our church, we started in the CBD. We used to meet just near Absa Square, and so when that was like a lease, we had a maybe short to mid-term lease of 5 years. But towards the end of our lease, the owners of Moth Hall, we used to meet at Moth Hall.
Okay.
Yes, and they came to us, and we basically had a short time to look for somewhere else, and so we found a place on Kapsahub Road. and we found a piece of property that we could lease with the option to buy. And so we began fundraising endeavors to raise money to buy that property. And at the end, we could not make the amount. But during that time, one of the members of my church came to me and said, listen, for the amount of money that we have raised, we could get land in Matsafeni. And so for me, it was an easy decision because I've always wanted to reach the unreached. You know, somebody said it this way. Matthew Burnett said it this way in the Dream Center in the States. He said that if you go to the people that nobody wants, then God will send you the people that everybody wants. And so what motivated me was really my heart is to reach the unreached. And the unreached is people that really are disadvantaged, whether it's from whatever point. It could be financial, it could be from a family standpoint, it could be from education. But I think for us it was more spiritual. Blessed are the poor in spirit. So we went for those that had maybe grew up religious, but really had no relationship with Jesus and did not understand that. So that's really what, and in that community, and I felt it's perfect to have a church in that community, because then we would be reaching that particular community. So for me, it was and my wife, it was an easy decision to make, to say, why don't we purchase land there? And we've been there now since 2017, and then we've been able to develop the property, but right in the heart of the community. For me, that's a goosebump moment, That's what I love. Yeah. I guess that does answer that question. Why we chose. God led us there. That's where we found favor. But at the same time, it resonated with our hearts because we were reaching the people right where they were. They didn't have to travel far to come to church. It was right there in the community, and we could address the needs of that particular community, whatever they were, whether positive or negative, that we could be part of the life of the Matsafeni community, and we love it. We love it there.
I think it's wonderful to hear your experience of ministering there. And I was just wondering, many times when people think I'll talk about myself, when I think of a community like Matsafeni, I think of the bad stuff, the crime and the this and the that and poverty and whatever else. But please share with us some things that you admire about the community of Matsafeni. What do you experience there? How are the people? What would you say?
I mean, for also looking at my background in Nairobi, I pastored interesting region. It's almost like saying, when I think about context, I'm thinking about how Santon is right next to Alex, and so I always found myself in the middle, there, that we would raise a church that touches the people in Santon and touches the people in Alex. And so if you come to Matsafeni, it's very interesting because it's a very interesting community. Poverty is not how I don't know how to put it. It's not what you imagine it to be, because they're very wealthy people who live in Matsafeni, very industrious, very hardworking people in Matsafeni who have built amazing houses in Matsafeni. And I think the reason why they've gone there is because the land rates are more reasonable, as opposed to the suburbs. And so it makes economic sense to build there, because you're looking at your land rates, you're looking at your water, electricity. So there's an advantage in that. And so you find there's a lot of amazing houses, double-storied houses, beautiful homes there. And also you'll find alongside it, as usual, that this sometimes is the result of capitalism, is that you find people that are disadvantaged who maybe have not made that break in life. And so for me, I like that diversity, to be able to see, and what happens is that then you will see those that have really, built amazing homes there, and those that are, because there are also very many flats, you find that your average, young couple, your average who's starting out in life, will find the rents in the suburbs are a bit expensive, so they go there and say that's where we will start off. Eventually, because they're members of our congregation who started there, but God has blessed them and now they're able to afford to live in the suburbs. But that's a good place to start. We also have many hostels where university students, like the students from the University of Mpumalanga, they are housed there. Again, the advantage is that you can start off there, and it's not, and I keep going back to, because the cost of living is high, but you find that in a place like Matsafeni, you can survive. You can, of course, there you have your usual challenges that maybe the services are not as excellent as you would, but I've been to many nations in Africa, and Matsafeni, is right up there in terms of service delivery. So I like that, and I like the fact that it's community. It's fun being there. There are people on the streets. It's not at night there's activity going on, and so and the people there have really taken to us. We've warmed to them because love is a universal language. So when you love people, they will love you right back. And so, so God has allowed us, given us such a love for not just our congregation, but for that community. And they reciprocate. They love us right back. They are gracious to us. Yeah. We do have your challenges, because maybe one of the things that we do have, as in any community, we have a lot of, substance abuse. We do have a lot of, robbery, and these are people that are just basically trying to make it in life. And so, to go back to the question, you say that if I look at recently, if I look at the people that are struggling with substance abuse, people who want to rob others, I look at it. I use a different approach, and my concern is to go to look at them and see is that what is it? What can we do to give them hope and to make them look elsewhere? Because if you ever caught someone in the act of stealing, and sit down with them and say that why do you see this as an alternative? Can I give you another option? And that's an interesting conversation to have. I'm not sure whether we would, but I would like to sit down with them and we've interacted with them and say, so that's why I think you see that's why God has placed us there, is to be able to look beyond the symptoms, whether it's positive or negative symptoms, and look at what is the root cause and how do we bring Christ and God into the picture and give these people hope and tell them, listen, you can choose something else. You can choose to work hard. You can choose to start a business. You can choose to, go to school. You don't have to do this, So those are the dynamics that we have there. And so I thank God for placing me right there, to be able to see. And like I mentioned, it's very diverse. You find your Santon in Matsafeni and your Alex in Matsafeni. And so it's being able to be a bridge and say, how do these, the ones that are in the Santon of Matsafeni, have compassion for those who are in the Alex of Matsafeni? And how do those who are in the Alex of Matsafeni learn from those who are in the Santon? Because it's there. It's in every... I don't know if it's right to describe it like that, but yes, it's amazing how you find that there's that disparity. But how do the two divides come together, learn from each other, help each other out? So instead of building walls, and I've used this phrase before, instead of building walls, how can we build bridges that will help us, build a more Christ-like community? Because we believe Christ, and his death on the cross is to reconcile all things to himself. It's not just salvation, but economy, socially, educationally, all aspects of culture. Yes, that's a very long answer to it.
No, thank you for it helps me, and I feel like it's kind of a segue to the next question that I have. So and I think it's actually a universal problem. So it's not a specific community problem.
Yeah.
But so many of the people that we that work in our homes are from where I stay are from the our cat has joined the conversation. Are from Pienaar, Kanyamazan, and some people who would be familiar with those communities would know that Pienaar specifically has had many problems recently regarding violence, children getting missing, and I think, like you explained, you know, it's the challenge is actually to try to get people to connect with each other from different socioeconomic kind of backgrounds, and I was just wondering if you had to say if in a community you have a challenge, let's say substance abuse, crime, violence, whatever the case may be, what is a good perspective to try to sorry about that. What is a good perspective to try and to address those issues without, because I think one of the big challenges is people tend to hide from those challenges, and that's a normal thing. I mean, we want to be safe. Everyone wants to be safe, but the question that I would like to ask is, what is a meaningful response to a societal challenge? I mean, how do we address an issue? Because I think sometimes it feels like the issues are so big we can do nothing. So what would you say?
And the issues are big, and we cannot do everything, but we can do something. And I think that's where we have to start. Now, of course, as pastors, as people of faith, the gospel is the answer. The gospel of Jesus is God's solution to rescue. That's Romans chapter 1, verse 16 and 17. It's the gospel. And to be able to say how it's not social programs which are good, like now we have a feeding program, or what we call a soup kitchen, that happens every Wednesday. And we introduce that so that as a draw cut, not because there is extreme hunger, and I really want to point this out, the kids that come to our soup kitchen are not really hungry because their parents work, at least the majority of them. It's interesting. But so they provide for them. But we saw that as a draw card to have for them to come, and the greatest need is community, you know. And we started, let's start with the children, is community, because sometimes the challenge is the home, you know, whether we have a lot of single mothers raising their children and working very hard at it. We have a lot of absent fathers, you know, for various reasons. That's a huge challenge, not just in South Africa, but in Africa and across the world. That is an issue that needs to be, you know, dealt with. And so for us, to go back to your question, is that we have to start investing in them when they are young. You know, is that I think they said it's easier, prevention is better than cure. So start ministering to these kids when they are young. The Bible says perfect love or love not just covers a multitude of sins, but perfect love casts out fear. And so love is the way, the love of Jesus, to be able to show them that, listen, when they come, we have not just have a meal, but we have a Bible study. So we point the word, we want the word to be a foundation for them to have a relationship with Jesus. But above all, that they can connect with us. So we have many volunteers, whether they are ladies or men. And so the idea is to talk to them, to connect with them, and to even hear. What we like to do is to discuss, what's your dream? What do you want to do in life? And to show them the possibility that we are coming alongside you and giving you an option, you know, because it's harder to pour your life to a child than it is to repair broken men. Because when they are older and they are broken, then sometimes it's too late. You know, the interventions are too late. So we try, and what we can do and what we have done is to try to talk to them when they are young. For us, even in our church structure, our children's ministry and our youth ministry are really important because we are raising the next generation. So we have a big focus on the next generation and pouring to them and giving them alternative and giving them hope and giving them Christ and giving them love and giving them attention, having conversations with them like what we're having here, but having these conversations with a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 18-year-old, 19-year-old. That's where we want to focus, so that by the time they are adults, then there's been enough investment in them for them to make the right choices in life, you know. And so many of the ones that go into substance abuse or into stealing as a lifestyle never had these conversations. Never, you know, I don't know. So for them, among their peers, this is what maybe they're finding solutions among their peers. This is it. But if somebody had invested in them when they were younger, you know, and loved them and given them options, and whether it's a father or a mother, it doesn't matter, you know, then I feel they would have made different choices, you know. So that's what we try to do, that's what we go to them when they are young, invest in them. We're using food as a draw card, but when they do come, they play games, you know. We have, but most of all, besides just eating together, that we talk together, that we interact and hear. Tell me what's going on. Why do you choose to wear this? Why do you choose to talk like this? Why do you choose? So having those conversations with them, hopefully will give them, you know, have a wider, a broader view of life, and see Jesus as a real alternative, and hopefully they will make better choices in future. But we have to, you know, we cannot neglect that broken men, repairing broken men is a far harder issue than investing in them when they are young. So I think that's what we've chosen to do. When you go into these communities and you see what's happening, you know, and I'm like, I wish we had caught them when they were younger, and have these conversations. Like I said, when they come for the soup kitchen, it's not really food, but they come there for the community, for the fun, people to play with. But most important, that we have adults who are present, not just to give them food, but to connect with them and give them a hug, you know, and laugh, give them high fives, that interaction, so that they learn that adults it's a safe place, you know. We have one of our churches in Pagane. We began to realize that we have like a yard, and there are swings, and many of the kids, when they get off from school, go there to play, and we try and create a safe space for them there, because a lot of the abuse, or a lot of the issues, the negative issues, happen when they knock off from school and go home, and before their parents come home in the evening. So that's a gray area, that if we can just say that time, if they can come to a safe space where there's a pastor, where there are volunteers, both ladies and men, particularly ladies who will care for them, give them a meal, interact with them until they can go home when their parents come home from work, you know, in the evening. Because the structure of our society now is that many times both parents have to work. So the parents are really working hard. But the compromise is that they're not giving enough attention, or we're not giving enough attention to our kids. And so that's where the enemy has really, you know, crept in. Yeah.
So I think what I heard from what you said in the past couple of minutes is the absolute necessity within the kingdom of God for community.
Yeah.
And I think so many people feel so stuck in their lives kind of the fabric of their lives,
Yeah.
that they feel like, you know, everything is so busy, I don't have time for anything. But what I'm taking from our conversation today is that where the kingdom of God is, there is community and there is love.
Yeah.
And we look for ways, we try to find ways to create community where it is most needed.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you for our conversation this morning, and you're truly are an inspiration for me as a bit of a younger guy.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you for the work that you do.
Yeah.
And I hope that our conversation was meaningful for someone.
Yes, I
And,
hope so too.
I just really wanted to thank you for spending some time with me. I appreciate you very much.
Well, thanks, Ru. I appreciate you as well. And thank you for the opportunity, you know, because we need to have more of these conversations, and particularly with, you know, in our communities. Like you said, the kingdom of God provides community, and that's where you know, that's a preventive. It's the prevention rather than the cure, because the cure is too late. You know, many times it's too late.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right. God bless.